Okay, let me see. Everything seems to be well in order and well in hand. Hello, it's Friday. I'm Brian. Going to keep an eye out on, and actually I probably should move the chat window over there. There we go. We'll do that. Let's do that, right? Let me see, live chat. There we go. Okay. So I tried streaming on Wednesday. Didn't work out so well. I was attempting a new configuration because, I can, and ran into some audio issues multiple times that had to be fixed. So there it is. Okay. And I can just move that one over as well, I guess. I don't know how long I had sat there until, I noticed in chat that somebody said, hey, you got audio issues. And I appreciate the person that said that. By that time, I had already restarted again and had issues, and it was dead. So made some changes to simplify the area that I'm in, trying to implement a clean desk policy and what have you. So yeah, and actually you know what, let's just tidy up the desk a little bit there, neighbor. We're gonna put some stuff up, do this. I've gotten rid of the Focusrite. I think it's probably its last gasp. I'm going to continue using my SureLav here because it seems to be working a little better. I have to dial in. I look a little on the red side, like I've got a tan or something. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And let me make sure that, oh, there I am. I could hear myself. All right. I'm arguably doing well right now. So it's Friday, and yeah, working on YouTube here, and we're going to be going through. I think I'm going to kind of rehash what I talked about on Wednesday because apparently nobody heard it. Yeah. So I will be going through a couple of things again, talking about the phishing stuff that came up, and we'll do some prox mocks and stuff. And I really need to get a haircut because my hair's just god awful. So hope you've had a good week. Hope everyone is getting ready for the holidays, whatever that means for you. If you are not a fan of going to see your family, don't worry, I'm not either. So, yeah, I know some people stress out over the holidays. There we go. And yeah, it's sometimes stressful for them. So, yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So as I was talking about yesterday or Wednesday, I had gotten a refresh on my computer, and I have a brand new MacBook, which I've been at my current job for 4 years, and that means I get hardware refresh. But the problem was I moved from a Windows to a MacBook because the MacBooks are a bit more performant. And I think it's probably because there's so many agents on the Windows boxes instead of the Mac boxes, because there's what you'll find if you work in IT long enough, and having worked at an endpoint security company like CrowdStrike, for whatever reason, Mac OS has less tooling available. So endpoint security solutions and things aren't necessarily as mature for them. I found probably a dozen different agents on my Windows box, on my POS MacBook or not MacBook, but this POS HP laptop that I couldn't do hardly anything on it by the time I was done. And so I'm hoping the MacBook will be a bit more performant over the long term. And yeah, it's just interesting to see the different agents and everything. Not every agent is the same on the MacBook versus the Windows box. And so, yeah. But yeah, so I'm learning the little peccadillos of work, and I haven't used a MacBook personally or for work since 2017, 2018, when the touch bar thing came out, and it was just kind of fiddly. So, yeah. And so one of the things that had come out, in the past few weeks from somebody named Steve Cooper, and I talked about this on Wednesday. I'll probably delete those videos because they're an exercise in stupidity. You can't hear anything that's going on them. But there was a discussion about phishing training being ineffective. Changed my mind. And of course, Jake Williams, InfoSec Rockstar, and I mean that in the, he knows stuff, right? He is, a known quantity in our industry, and had said that, it's the biggest con in cybersecurity, hands down. There's no data that it changes cybersecurity outcomes. Theorizing, most people intuitively know this, but because improving click rate is easy to track, and by improving click rate, meaning people are not clicking on the payloads that you create or the phishing exercises that you create and send out. And so if you work for a phishing company, there's a paper that was published in one of the magazines on computer.org about the efficacy of phishing training and practice. And sorry, I'm still looking over to make sure that everything is still working on my audio, because I want to make sure we're cool on that. The paper that they have here from UCSD Health, which is one of the organizations that helped author the page, UC San Diego, one of the universities here in Southern California, and University of Chicago. So, a lot of folks there. I have a feeling the person at the top is the one that is like, it's almost like in movie credits, the first person is like the top line person. So in a Mission Impossible movie, it would be, Kevin Costner, Tom Cruise, right? And then everyone else is in diminishing order of either importance or how much they contributed to the paper, or, data points or whatever. So anyway, this Grant Ho and Ariana Miriam and Eliza and Kang and all those folks wrote up a doc, a white paper, if you will, about the efficacy of training in practice for white paper stuff, for phishing training. And they took 8 months, apparently, according to the abstract. I tried to, I want to say I downloaded the doc, but I cannot seem to find it because it was like, oh, you can get it free with a membership, but I cannot find the doc to save my life, because I was like, oh, I'll get a free doc out of this. Let me see if I can, did I download that? Where is it? I have a feeling that is it, and it did not finish. So let me see here. 75, 76. Maybe I can, let me see. Can I change that to a PDF? See if I can read that doc. Yes, I'd like to. Nope. Okay, so it didn't, if that was the file, it didn't download completely. So I'll probably delete both of those. That sucks. That sucks. So anyway, over an 8-month period, and it, one of the things that they call out in the abstract is it was a randomized controlled experiment involving 10 simulated phishing campaigns sent to 19,500 employees at a large healthcare organization, which UCSD San Diego Health is a fairly large healthcare organization. As a matter of fact, it's the place I go to for my doctors. And they have some results that are kind of not good. I mean, I think for some folks in the security community, it was, it's kind of, I don't want to say confirmation of what we all knew already. And this is just one data point in one industry. I don't have the white paper like I thought I would. So, the methodology, what type of lures were used. I think there's a lot here that I would love to get involved with. I'd love to pay the $21, but the problem, it's part of a series of documents in this list that were white papers sent for discussion. So $21 and you're going to buy either the article or you're going to get the whole doc about a bunch of stuff that I'm not necessarily caring about. This is the IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy, which was held in May of this will be held in May of this year. So somebody will be giving a talk on the efficacy of phishing training from UCSD Health. What? Well, you can get up here if you like. Come on. There you go. Right. So it says our results suggest that these offer limited value. So the crux of the issue is you can do all the training you want for phishing, and there's no significant indicator of that it's effective, that the training for phishing training is effective, or annual security training or what have you. They say the most damning, I think, was the third one here, right? We observe most users spend minimal time interacting with embedded phishing training material in the wild, and for that for specific types of training content, users who receive and complete more instances of the training can have an increased likelihood of failing subsequent phishing simulations. I think that one was what stuck out with me on the abstract, and I may just bite the bullet and go ahead and get the whole doc to read some of the papers in there, but that one was kind of interesting, depending on who got the training, how many times they got the training. If somebody got 15 instances of phishing training versus 5, not only was that person who got the 15 more likely to click on something in the future, the difference between the 5 and the 15 don't make any difference. So I don't know. They say, taken together, our results suggest that anti-phishing training programs in their current and commonly deployed forms are unlikely to offer significant practical value in reducing phishing risks. Now, you would have to buy the white paper, I would think, to figure out how, if they had a solution in there at all or not. My guess is, I don't know what the solution would be for something like this. If, and I'm sure that there are phishing companies out there who this may have gotten around to companies that are, using phishing simulation companies, and they're seeing this, right? And it's difficult, right? I have taken security training for many years at many companies who do many things. I've gone through the decade of Flash training, where you download Flash to have to view the training, or Java or something to be able to play the video. I've gone through numerous trainings where you can click through to the end and take the questions and be done with it. And I actually have done that several times in my current job. Score 90% or 100%. The training is not designed to penalize anybody in any way. You can't fail it. If you do fail it, they give you the chance to take it over again, probably with the same questions. There's a lot of problems with how security training is done, right? You do it one time a year, 15 minutes of training, done, right? There's a lot of checkboxiness to it. For compliance purposes, do your employees do regular security training? Yes, we do annual security trainings. Check, that kind of thing. Um, I think the problem is in overselling it. You've got people who are selling this training, the phishing trainings, the annual security trainings. This is going to help you and your organization do blah. And there's a promise there that it's going to make you more secure by requiring everybody to take certain trainings. I think we've talked in the past about tailoring the training to certain things. If you're a developer, you're going to take developer training on how to, code security or what have you. There are organizations designed to create that kind of training, but that kind of bespoke training is very not cheap, usually, and the benefits there are highly subjective. Some people will actually get more out of it than others will, but it was just interesting to see the abstract on this, and I probably will go ahead and buy this at some point because I'd like to read through and understand their methodology and look at that. But let me copy this to here, just in case you want to read through the abstract or, buy it yourself. If you get a new membership, you should be able to get this article free. You'll only get that one article though, and there are hundreds, there's dozens of articles in the list. It looks like it's just a one-pager. So each one of these are one-page kind of deal. So it's not like a huge, long diatribe. And there may be additional work later on about these things, but there's, this is not a, this conference or this symposium or what the hell, consortium? No, symposium. This is not a typical security conference. This is for mostly academics. I'm sure they get wild and crazy as only academics can. And, you see, I haven't gone to these, but I would imagine it'd be kind of cool to go to. Sorry. So going back to the Blue Sky, which is where I saw this. There's a lot of they go through and they talk about some additional bits here. Adam Shostak said, I saw it presented last week. It's excellent science. 20,000 people, 8 months, one training email per month. Over those 8 months, something like 50% of the people clicked at least once, and the effect of the lure on the click rates dwarfed any training effect. We hear people joke about the, being able to fish someone. You don't have to have an O-day. All you need to do is send somebody a fish, and the lure is, hey, our insurance is changing. Please click here to check out your insurance, that kind of thing. And it's not hard to fish people. It's not hard to gain that kind of access if you have the right lure, which, as we've seen, people inherently trust their email. And there's a reason for that. And ideally, they, they think that it is secure in many cases, or that, at work you should have controls in place that will protect you from getting things like this. I was actually talking with somebody the other day about email and the controls put into place, and he works in IT. And I said, how do you handle your phishing that's occurring, or do you do phishing? And actually, I hadn't even known about this, but we were talking about phishing and how are you securing your people? And he said that they do have training that they use, but it's super simple, right? They're just trying to check a box like everyone else. And I asked the question, I was like, so have you ever thought about removing email access for people, you know, or reducing what kind of emails those people can get. You know, we as security people, it feels like there needs to be a way to secure those things. For work email should only be used for work, in my opinion. There are definitely ways to remove the ability for people to just be blindly emailed. Perhaps, you know, you treat it like kind of an ingress egress kind of thing. If you have sent an email to somebody, you can receive responses from that person, but that person outside will not be able to send you email in, right? Maybe by dint of you sending out an email to that person, you've given them a trust saying that this is from this person legitimately, and you know, I'm expecting a reply from that person. But that person outside could be a salesperson. It could be, you know, someone's uncle or something like that. If they try to blindly email somebody in saying, hey, you know, thanks for the call or whatever, they're not going to get that. I'm just thinking that there's better ways that we can protect, we being security people and IT people, can protect and remove the need for email phishing type events. There's tar pitting. I mean, the technology is not new. There's tar pitting. There's spam house. There's, you know, region blocks. There's, you know, domain blocks. What was the other thing we were talking about? We're talking about blocking personal stuff on work devices. I think we were talking about like getting emails or getting Slack messages or something because he was on call, and yeah, I think we were talking about some of that, and that kind of came through on that. But yeah, so I'd welcome any questions anybody might have if you have been involved in pushing out this training. Maybe you have had discussions with your management about which training you should buy, which, you know, do you enjoy the training? Because if you're a security person, you also have to take that training. So what does it look like for you? Do you laugh at it and you're like, are you aware that it's just a compliance check mark? I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on that if you're watching and enjoying the day here. I think I fixed the audio issues. That's good. Okay. Let me go. Let's see. Where's the go live bit here? Let me see what's going on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, in addition to changing up my desk, I also I bought two 32-inch monitors for my desk when I first moved here in San Diego, and the idea was that I would use those for streaming. Somehow over the last year or so, my one 32-inch monitor that I have got taken over, and I was using it for work-related items because, you know, it's a nice 32-inch wide monitor. I mean, I got one here and I got one here, and they're just ginormous. And I was using it for work, and then I realized, well, I'm an idiot. I should require my work to give me a monitor if I need one, because right now I'm sitting on, you know, I had, you know, just this little monitor here, which is crap. And then, you know, the MacBook that he gave me is a 14-inch monitor, so I need some additional monitors. And so I moved all of the big monitors over to one side of the desk so that I can use them for streaming, which is why I've got what I've got here. So, yeah, let me move some stuff here. Sure, there we go. Pull that down. Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff coming out of IEEE. I mean, it's not an awful organization. They just have a ton of Seriously? I know I'm not out of hard drive space. There's no way that's possible. Let me see. Yeah, I was gonna say I got to. It's weird. OBS is saying that I don't have any disk space available, which I know is incorrect. So, but yeah, there's ARM embedded fuzzing and or firmware embedding or post fuzzing analysis on ARM embedded firmware. I mean, that's huge, you know. And a lot of these folks are academics. They're trying to get published, trying to you know, a master's degree or a doctorate or something like that. So is some interesting discussions that you're going to see there. This is, you know, you can actually go in and read their methodologies and what they're doing. So go take a look and you know, poke at that a little bit. Okay, let me see. What do we got? I don't want to talk about the United Healthcare stuff. That's just really weird. They're gonna probably find that guy, but yeah, they're gonna find that guy because they've got some facial recognition stuff I'm sure they're using. Microsoft announces a security update with Windows Resiliency Initiative. They recently announced they're making changes to Windows operating system to improve security and reliability. Ooh. Company has introduced the Resiliency Initiative, a comprehensive strategy to address critical vulnerabilities and enhance overall system integrity. These new features will be available to Windows insiders sometime early 2025. Why do we need this? Following the CrowdStrike outage, it caused 8 million Windows PCs and servers to, you know, crash, basically. Microsoft was faced with the task of ensuring this would never happen again and regaining the trust of their users. So that's something that, you know, product management folks deal with quite a bit, especially when it's not in their control. Windows crashed because of a third-party software that a lot of companies were using. Windows took a good bit of the brunt of the problem, right? Even though it was a CrowdStrike outage that caused the reboot. And let's see, where is that? CrowdStrike outage. Yeah, so there was and that's the high tech target. Gross. So yeah, July 2024. This also affected a lot of flights, a lot of for weeks to come. As a matter of fact, this one I remember actually affected my mother trying to get home after she had visited us in July. It's been described, it was described as the largest IT outage in history, $5 billion in direct losses, according to one insurer's analysis. But yeah, so it caused, you know, machines to brick themselves or not be able to boot up. It would blue screen, etc. Affected a lot of airline systems, especially. And you know, it was one of those things where if you were down, it's because you were a CrowdStrike user or you were a CrowdStrike company using their endpoint solution. If you weren't down or weren't suffering from any kind of issues, that was telling as well. You're using some other endpoint security solution. So, you know, I think I mentioned on that day, everyone knew who was a CrowdStrike customer and who wasn't, right? Because if they were down, it was because of that. Well, let's go back to the security initiative. With cyber attacks on operating systems, applications, and networks becoming more sophisticated. Okay, whatever. Tech giant formulated a strategy to enhance protection of Windows systems, focusing strongly on phishing attacks. Really? More phishing? No, I didn't read this one at all, obviously. Phishing attacks, really? So during the Ignite conference, which I think just finished up, the goal of the Windows Resiliency Initiative is to prevent future systems outages and to add other security features to protect against exploiting the operating system and accessing users' personal data. David Weston, the VP of Enterprise and OS Security, said in a blog post, "We are committed to ensuring that Windows remains the most reliable and resilient open platform for our customers." Okay. So covers 4 areas of focus. Apply the lessons learned from incidents to improve reliability, enable apps and users to run without admin privileges. I think that's important. That's good, because how many times have we, getting rid of local admin is a thing, right? We should be able to get rid of local admin. We should be able to get rid of, everyone running as root on the devices or admin on the boxes. Create stronger controls for what apps and drivers are allowed to run, and strengthen identity protection tools to defend against phishing attacks. I don't know. Okay. Quick machine recovery feature, which allows IT admins to remotely diagnose and repair compromised or non-bootable devices, minimizing downtime and potential data loss. Administrators will also no longer be required to have physical access to the machines to make changes to Windows updates. Okay, that's kind of cool. I wonder if this is what they wanted Recall to kind of be, right? One of the things was the timeline, right? So maybe not. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass here. But so you run an update, you reboot the box, the system blue screens, like what happened with CrowdStrike. There should be a way for you to go back in and go back to a snapshot, kind of like what they already have, but maybe there's a way of doing it, or they're strengthen that. So it's like, okay, this fix didn't take, or, hey, your system didn't boot up properly, instead of like just a blue screen where you can't do anything. Perhaps it'll be something like that. Reducing admin privileges. When an attacker attempts to gain access, they tend to target systems and apps that will grant them privileged access, right? Typically elevated or admin level user access required for apps to function properly. Microsoft sought to address this issue and as a result created a new feature called administrative protection. Users will be given standard user accounts by default. Oh, that's beautiful. It's only taken them, what is it, 35 years to set a default of standard user accounts by default, right? Some of the IT folks out there are probably cheering, because that is a, you don't need local admin necessarily on a box. Even my own workplace, on my Windows box here, I'm a standard user, but I have the ability to go in and use a tool that we have that will give us admin rights to be able to do things like install software for a certain amount of time. If you enable it, I think it's on for like an hour, and then you can turn it off, and you only get so many of those before you have to let IT know. And I think it's like 35 or 40 instances of that. So if you have to enable this, time and time and time again, at some point you'll have to go to IT and go, well, I've blew through all of my sudo access. Please get me more. And somebody will be like, well, why did you blow through all of that? Well, I install and uninstall a lot of things, or, whatever. But yeah, we have that kind of functionality, and it seems like that would be something you'd want to use on Windows. That would be great to be inherent as part of Windows. So in addition, developers will now be able to develop products outside of the kernel, which means fewer Windows applications will require administrative privileges to run, limiting the potential impact of successful attacks. This approach also helps to contain the spread of malware and ransomware, which, according to Microsoft's Digital Defense Report, resulted in 93% of attacks being successful due to having so many privileged user accounts. I could definitely understand how this would work. In my thought process as I was reading that, you're developing things outside of the kernel, but that doesn't necessarily mean you won't have a kernel that you can run. So Hypervisor would be able to start up a protected sandbox area that has a Windows kernel in it, that you could develop products that would test against the kernel that you've copied into the sandbox. So I could definitely see something like that, where they're trying to figure out ways to you're not interacting directly with the kernel that is sitting on your box. And again, you would be running in a protected sandbox as a standard user, not as local admin. So you as a developer, you wouldn't have to have God mode on your machine. So that makes the most sense in a lot of cases, in the way I'm thinking here. So let's stronger app and driver controls, or implementing stricter controls over the installation and execution of unsafe drivers and apps. Smart app control feature will reduce the risk of malicious software infiltrating systems by ensuring only verified apps can run on the PC. God, I mean, I've seen and heard of a lot of malware that is verified already because it's signed by a Microsoft certificate, I would be interested in understanding how they are making sure that only verified apps can run on the PC. I guess if you're an IT admin, you're going to have potentially a list of reputable apps. You would have, you're not going to be able to run, I don't know. Depending on maybe you could probably break that down by people, or if you're a small enough organization, hey, we're going to run Adobe Acrobat, we're going to have the Office suites, whatever Windows services are on there. And then if you try to install something that is outside of what, we're suggesting, you're going to get flagged for that or something like that. I don't know. That would be, there's not a lot here to talk about. So, it really depends on your experience with, signed and reputable and having an app list for your policy. So, intra ID data, 600 million identity attacks occurring daily. Most of them are password based. They're investing in advanced identity protection technologies, strengthening password policies, implementing MFA. Yeah, I mean, right now the Microsoft account I use to log into this box doesn't require a password at all, even though it still has one. I'm supposed to, I have a pass key. I also use, Windows Hello for my cameras up there. And I have MFA on, my Microsoft account. So it's not through the Microsoft MFA, it's through something else. I tried to make sure that, I'm not in one ecosystem. Oh, crap. Okay. Collaboration with security partners, vendors through the Virus Initiative, MVI, sharing threat intelligence, improving security posture, Windows devices, adopt safer and more secure product update deployments and recovery procedures. Rollouts will be monitored to minimize negative impacts from patches and updates. I think this is, outreach, right? Making sure that everything is, maybe Microsoft's like, okay, before you deploy anything endpoint related, we're going to give you an environment, or we're going to be able to give you the ability to, share, your deployment, your deployment practices are, hey, I'm just going to throw this at the wall and hope it sticks, or, hey, thanks, Bear. I appreciate the photo. Yeah, see, I've got my little thing up here. I don't know if you'll be able to see if I drag it over here on the screen, but yeah, so you can see my. Yeah, I've got the thing set up to go, okay, I didn't have that before and I was looking somewhere else. So I'm making sure that my SureLav is actually showing up. Not using the Focusrite probably helps a little bit as well. So, but thanks for the audio. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is one of the most popular OSs out there for enterprise to use, second to OS X and Linux. But yeah, you've got, yeah, me too. I'm on version 15 of my improved setup. So yeah, I'm trying to not suck as much after I moved my desk and cleaned some things off. So yeah. Ah, yes, I knew about this one for a while. Transition to Rust. They are actually gradually transitioning specific components from C++ to Rust. Code security, memory safety, reliability for Rust. Large portions of the kernel, last I'd heard, is being moved over as well to memory safe languages like Rust. And I said that, potentially this is a way to further move towards an open source Windows or an open source kernel. right now. I think at some point we'll be able to boot up Windows with a Linux kernel, or Linux with a Windows kernel, you know, if you want to go that route. It'll be interesting to see what happens once they get it to that point. I think there'll still be some proprietary stuff that they'll have to fix, but yeah. Bottom line, the initiative is a step in the right direction. Although security relies on other components, user education on best practices. Strong password. Okay, so so the first three things that this person mentions: user education, strong passwords, implement proper systems applications, and third-party solutions. Those are the three things that security and IT have the hardest time implementing. And as a matter of fact, Microsoft is suggesting going passwordless, right? So using pass keys, or, you know, your phone to go, oh, okay, I'm at my desk, please, you know, give me what I need. Doink, doink, doink. Sorry, just okay, there we go. And yeah, proper implementation of systems. You're always going to have IT people who, you know, want to set things up properly, but you're going to have IT folks that are not going to be able to do that because of past sins, right? Leftover, cruft, backwards compatibility. You know, we have this old system where you're going to have, you know, you're always going to have that piece of software that won't work with the new regime or the new thoughts. So at some point, somebody will be like, yeah, we're gonna implement this. You know, nobody needs to be root. You know, we're gonna deploy. You know, where the fuck was it? Yeah, user. You know, the new version of Windows that's coming out in 2025. Everyone will be a standard user by default. There's always going to be some software that is mission critical that will still need some sort of remote, you know, local admin or ability to access the kernel. And Microsoft's going to either have to move more towards an iron fist kind of thing with, you know, like with Apple, where they're like, you're just not going to run on our system if you don't, you know, get in line. Which will not be popular, given, you know, that Microsoft has a lot of leeway on that respect. You know, they're leery of doing that kind of thing. So at some point, it's going to be Microsoft's going to be like, yeah, your POS software is not going to work on our system, or it's going to be sandboxed upon sandbox upon sandbox. But yeah, the proper implementation of systems, applications, and third-party solutions. This one, I think, of those three, is going to be the biggest, if they can do whatever it is they need to do, where it's like, hey, you know, third parties, stop sucking, and you're going to do this from now on if you even want to run on our system. Yeah, that one will be the biggest impact, I think, in this case. Because it's not based on the user, it's based on the creators of the software or the companies using that software that want to play in the Windows environment. And yeah, strong passwords. I mean, some companies will never be able to move away from anything other than a password. And then user education, as we just talked about with phishing training, it's not the best. Best practices will be, you know, policy driven or acceptable use policies. Please don't, you know, download porn on our machines, or, you know, don't download the software or what have you. So yeah, it's interesting. I didn't actually, let me scroll back up here. I didn't get the link or post it up for folks. There we go. Ugh. E-Security Planet. Okay. Apologies. It's going to ask you for a newsletter. But yeah. Is there anything else it missed? Nope. Okay. So. Sharing your Mac's password. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I mean, we still have people sharing streaming passwords. You can't stop people from doing things that aren't in their best interest. They just don't realize the ramifications of that yet. And I get it, you know, if you can, somebody doesn't have to, you know, purchase the service, or they can get around the boundary or the barrier to be able to do work. They're going to pick the easiest direction possible. They don't have to unlock the gate and somebody will open it for them. They're not going to bother having to ask somebody to unlock the gate. So yeah, ransomware, silent epidemic, Amazon Music delivered. Okay, Spotify wrapped summary. So, let me see. $8,006. Is so loud. There we go. So I have my Proxmox set up, and we'll continue on through this. One of the things I did find out that is kind of limiting with Proxmox is you cannot install Docker on your Proxmox implementation because there are certain things that are running, including I think ports and or services that are running that Proxmox is using. Plus, it's a bare metal installation. Proxmox is bare metal, so trying to install Docker as part of, you know, apt install Docker is going to cause all kinds of issues with your Proxmox. You can create Linux containers, LXC Linux containers, not the same as Docker. So if you have a lot of Dockerized things, you will have to do a kind of a crappy workaround. They say you can install Alpine Linux or some other Linux like that and run Docker inside a VM inside your Proxmox. Yeah. I said the same thing. Yeah, that's kind of janky. But so yeah, I was playing. Oh, I have two. Oh, one of them is a template. I think that's the template. So yeah, I installed Alpine. I've got the Remnux version that I've got running here, and I had planned on installing Windows and getting all that stuff set up and running, but I was just really happy to have my system running here and somewhat stable. So we are going to continue on through that. Let me see. Create a VM. All right, so name is going to be Windows 10 malware box, just to make sure that it doesn't, you know, there's no you know, confusion about what it is. I don't want to run this one if it's got actual malware on it. So, oh, the other little peccadillo that Proxmox doesn't like is spaces. Do not try to put a space in your host name, which I'm okay with. I don't like spaces in my file names. I don't, you know, can't put spaces in your username. So if you noticed, I put a space there. Now I can't move forward. So you have to disconnect that. And so as you can see, I downloaded Windows 10. I did get at some point on my Proxmox, but let me see, storage local. So I've got 74 gigs available out of capacity of 100 gigs. That doesn't sound right. Oh, that's the local ISO. Okay. It is not a Linux. It is a Microsoft Windows. Get additional drive for VirtIO drivers. Okay. I don't know what the difference between the versions is here. I mean, obviously one is 10 and one is 11, but I don't know if it's a performant thing. Is it a, you know, there's certain Windows 11-y things that won't allow the Windows 10 thing to run. So on the safe side, I'm just going to, you know, pick the correct version here. So it will work. 2016 and 2019 is the server versions. In case you're running Microsoft Windows Server, you would use this version. or 2022, 2025 using 11. I'm going to keep everything default on the system here. I may need UEFI, I don't know. I know for 11 you would probably need some kind of UEFI. What is this? I have received so many phone calls in the past 24 to 48 hours for a bunch of garbage that makes absolutely no sense. Okay, all right. IDE pool. So I'm using my ZFS pool, which I have like a terabyte of space. Disk size, we want to make it like 100 gig. Default no cache. Okay. Windows 10 won't run very well at all without at least a couple of cores. So I have, I think, 16 cores on this. So I'm, not hurting. I think I can leave it as that. Minimum is going to be, I have 64 gigs of RAM in this system. I maxed out the Think Center that I have, so I'm actually going to give it 8192. I'm actually going to give it 8 gigs of RAM, which is, healthy, right? Network device, I'm not going to run updates on the Windows 10 box once I get it running, so I may turn off the network device. I will need a network device, but I will have to lock it down at some point. So I'll have to go in and figure out, VLANs and tagging and making sure that only the Windows 10 box can only talk to the RemNux box. RemNux box can only talk to the Windows 10 virtual machine. At some point, the RemNux box will have to go out and get updates and that kind of thing. But other than that, that's, and things like shared folders or however you are going to be able to push things back and forth between RemNux and Windows 10, I'll have to look at too. But we'll learn that together, won't we? That Windows 10 ISO, for whoever asked or whispered to me, thank you for whispering, I appreciate that. I just use the media creation kit and just pull the ISO down. That way you can get it. All right. Cross fingers, y'all. Okay, so we have a... All right, so this is the Windows 10. Here's the console. That's the one thing I do like that's cool about Proxmox that I didn't like with XCPNG, which I tried to use. You didn't need to have a separate pane of glass or something to be able to interact with the server remotely. Everything is done through Proxmox, which I found quite a bit nicer. Let me double check data center storage options. Where is my summary? That's where? Oh yeah, here you go. So you can see I've got 12 CPUs, which I've used 0% of those. I have 62.64 gigs of RAM, and I have at least 1.32 terabytes of space, which I can add more to if I wanted to, or I can add like I have a USB-C port on the device, but I've heard that over USB ZFS doesn't do so hot. So I'm not trying to be performant, but I'm trying to expand my space if I run out of hard drive space. With 2 terabyte SSD or NVMe in there, probably won't need that, or I'll just keep buying larger NVMEs. I think like they have a 4 terabyte one on Amazon right now for like $250, something like that. See here, we got 4. Yeah, so here's a 4 terabyte one for $237. Here's a 4 terabyte one for sub $200. Well, it is $200, right? So if you're not gonna, well, I mean 7,000 megabytes per second. That's not bad. It's not bad. So, you know, if you're looking for something large like that, that is the way to go. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Anyway. But yeah, so I mean, if you wanted to go cheaper and just do 2 terabytes, probably, yeah, $88. Now, I've never heard of this company, so caveat emptor. But, you know, if you're wanting a quality one or one, you know, that is, you know, specific, here's one for $300 from Samsung, which I think this is the one that I have in my box right now. I bought it like a year ago or something. But yeah, I mean, the prices for NVMe drives are going down. So yeah. Here's one, $189 for 4 terabytes. I mean, that's more than you're going to need. 5 gigs per second of throughput. You're not going to need that much, really. You could probably get away with something a little on the cheaper side. Anyway, going back. So I will start my box. This is where it crashes and nothing happens, and then I get angry and then I leave. See? This is where everything goes to shit and I can't do anything else. God, I hate it when I'm right. I hate it when I'm right. Oh, dear God. I thought I was done. Hey, looky. All right. So I didn't bother trying to, you know, set up a config file so that it would automatically do anything. Windows 10 is not hard to install, and it's going to be fairly fast here. So if you have a product key, I would suggest not using it. Just say you don't have a product key. There's going to be some limitations on that. As we saw when I was setting up the malware sandbox before, you can put a key in and it'll unlock things like being able to change your background and everything. But if you don't have the problem is if you blow away your VM that has malware on it, or you get the snapshotting wrong or something like that, you may not be able to reactivate that key until you go into your Microsoft account and blow that away. So I don't have product keys is the only correct answer. 10 Pro. Accept the license. Custom Windows install. Click that. I don't bother clicking new. I just click next and it automatically allocates the entire 100 gigs there. Going to text my wife to find out what we want for Din. So while that's going, the sound of the Jeopardy theme music will be in your head. What you want for dinner? Okay. There we go. And it doesn't take very long in the grand scheme of things. There it is. And I will. So what's everybody doing for the holidays? I know I mentioned that sometimes it's stressful for people, but are you going to go see family? Are you traveling? I hope not, but you know, we're going to be traveling to Fort Lauderdale on the 17th to do a cruise in the Caribbean. So, I mean, it's not Christmas time. I wouldn't dare try to go the week of Christmas. So, you know, it's far enough behind that we won't have to worry too much. Insects off plants. But yeah, so I mean, this will be it's not our first time we've done a Christmas cruise, but we got really close. I think we did one in mid-December. We got back the 21st of December, which was like, that was a 5-day down to Cabo and back, which was like $300 a person for 5 days in a suite. So it was pretty freaking nice. But yeah, yeah, we've never done a Christmas cruise before. So Christmas night, we get into San Juan, Puerto Rico. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, Bear. I mean, you know, I tend to not like going on travel during times when it might be a slow period in my work, because it almost feels like a vacation on its own, because I know everybody's going to be gone, so I can continue working, and then I take my vacation when people are back, right? You know, the second half of January, for instance, when everybody's back and it's the doldrums, I'll be like, I'm taking my vacation, you know, that kind of thing. I would like to not take vacation during a major time when I know that other people are going to be gone. It's kind of like you get 4 weeks of vacation if you time it right, you know, because, oh, can't have that meeting. Everybody's gone. Okay. Exactly, Bear. It's often your most productive month. 100%. 100%. It allows you to get a handle on stuff and work through. So there you go. We've already got it installed. I'm actually knock fake wood that this is actually going to work as I continue to build out my Windows 10 box. Yeah, there we go. One thing. So it's getting ready. Of course, Windows 10 is going to be going away, end of life, end of support, 2025, unless you've got fat pockets and you've got, you know, cash to burn for Microsoft to get your uber extended, you know, end of life support contracts. There we go. We're rebooting. There we go. But your voice is so loud. You like the one you laughing. Okay, cool. Got it. So while that's running, I'm gonna be there we go. All right, so yes. Yes. Shield one lowercase. Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so yes, we are in the United of the States. No, what happened? Okay, I seem to have lost my mouse, but through the judicious use of the tab button, I'm going to be able to continue through. Okay. Let me see. I want a pizza. I actually enjoy installing Windows 11, which is funny because it's the only one that I've ever found easier to install an OS for would have been OpenBSD. Windows 11 is just like, we're going to do all this for you. Now I do not like that with Windows 11, you actually have to have a special configuration set up to not automatically start you up with a Microsoft.com account. I would like to have the option to not have to install Windows 11 with a Microsoft.com account, only because I have to use my @live.com to be able to do anything. Runs into some issues. I would much rather prefer having a local account for Windows 11. And at some point, if I actually can get an entire system that is supported by Linux, I would love to try Linux again. Unfortunately, I have a lot of problems with that. All right, so set up for personal use. Oh, there we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would like an offline account because I have that option now. Are you sure? You're going to have a limited experience. I love how it says, you know, limited experience. So, you know, oh, don't you want to sign in to enjoy our full services, or do you want a crap experience? It's like, yes, I would love to have crap experience. Thank you very much. Or better even, use an online account. I love it. user lab. So I'll just call it user lab. I don't want to put my name on it. Password, we're just going to call it user lab. You can, there we go. And confirm password, all lowercase user lab. So come hack me, please. Feel free to. Security question. Let's see, security question. What is your pet's name? Sponge. Sponge? Yeah. Actually, let's just put all the same password. The security password is red. So red. Your security question. What's the name of the city you were born? Red. I blew my boss's mind when I used to work at a company because they were like, you know, security questions are stupid. People actually put real information in there, and they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, what was your childhood nickname? I didn't have a childhood nickname that I cared for. I can put anything here. And it's like another password, you know? There we go. All right, so. Customize. Pepperoni. Let's do pepperoni. And crunch pizza. Humor me for a moment, folks. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. I always like to put garlic on my pizzas. Add. No thanks on cheesing it up. Okay. I need 2 sandwiches. All right, that's perfect. Go to checkout. Yes, I would like to donate to St. Jude's Research Hospital because, you know, kids, man. Kids. All right, continue checking out. Delivery address. And this will also be a border of like, well, when the food comes, I'm going to stop streaming with you fine people so that I can go have dinner because I got hangry today. Okay, 01 28. Security code. Billing zip code. Wouldn't you like to know? And tip a healthy 25% to the pizza people because there's some cheap asses out there around this time of year. So, all right. Place. Oh. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. There we go. Place order. All right, 1 sec. Food's ordered. Okay. Food is ordered. Okay, cool. Thank you for humoring me, folks. All right, so we'll get back to the at hand. Always have access to your browser data. No, thank you. Shift tab will take you backwards in the UI. I don't know if you know that. Exactly, 100%. Yeah. I assume there's some cheap asses in San Diego, which is sad. I like to help out when I can. All right, so since I don't have a mouse, this one's going to be interesting. I turned these off. I actually should have turned these off when we did the original malware sandboxes because I think that's all of them. It adds more like noise when you're looking at things on like Wireshark, for instance. There we go. Cortana. Mommy, what's Cortana? Well, that's the first AI that they tried to use as a digital assistant. It failed miserably and they ripped it out of everything. I can hear the fan running on my little box because I've got 8 gigs and 100 or 8 gigs of RAM and 100 gigs of space connected to this. So it's roughly 12% of the resources. Oh, and 4 cores out of 12. So a third of it is being used. Let's go look at, let's see. I can actually watch what's going on here. There we go. So you see nodes online running virtual machines. Proxy Moxie is running 2% CPU utilization, 35% CPU or memory usage. Cluster? No. There was some, what was that? Options, fire metrics? No. There was some nice screens and things that were running. I don't have that. Summary. There we go. Well, that's kind of it, but so 18% of the CPU is being used right now, which is great. All right. Oh, I see. Browse the web with the latest version of Windows. Sure, why not? I'm not, I'll probably have to the hell is going on? Make it N6 off play. So yeah, the no VNC or whatever will allow you also, press the Windows key or simulate the Windows key. There you go. See, you can. Okay. Can't connect the mouse bit again, so. Okay, yeah, so you press the window button on your keyboard, both of them activate. So I've got my Windows here on my Windows 10, but also the Windows 11 box that I've got has the startup button there. Ooh, God, okay, do not type over there. There we go. So it does recognize shutdown. NERP. On a reboot. There we go. Shut down, restart. Yeah, so one of the things, since I think I'm going to move away from Twitch, I'm going to have to, shut down the account and everything there. I'm trying to figure out ways where people can, oh, there we go, help me out, in terms of, not subscriptions maybe, but like, I don't know, Ko-fi seems to be the best way that I see a lot of people like, they're not a fan of Patreon because there's some history there, but they take like 30% cut from content developers. So I'm thinking about trying to figure out how, where, Bear, if you have any thoughts on this, I don't know, but if there's any way we can help out with things, because I don't make any money off of this, but it would be nice to be able to offset some of the costs if we can. So. All right, so what I need to do is open internet settings, data usage, because like it's, every interview I do, I use Zoom, and that costs $15 a month, whether or not I use it. And so things like that is helpful to, I need to turn off the, where is it? Open internet network settings, properties. I need to turn off. See, this is where I need to bring up the video and, de-harden the system. So, so if we go to Jeff of all trades. Yep, there he is. So he created, as you can see, our malware sandbox here.
And looking through it. And I wanted to look through and see if I could find something
right.
interesting.
So that was his, not mine. But Jeff is a good dude.
Welcome to the second part of our second entry in the Master of None course series, which we've dubbed Sandbox in a Box. If you're coming here from not part one, the reason we've dubbed it that is because in part one we built a
So I will preface this by saying he's using VirtualBox. He has a Remnux box, and he has an open Windows box, which is the malware box that I'm creating now, where we will blow up our malware on. So the Remnux box I have is also on here, and I did it manually, so through a script. So Remnux script. So you go here, and there's a script you can download if you want to do it yourself. There's also containers for it, which was great, but if you don't have Docker or you're using Proxmox in this case, the containers are not useful because they use Docker. And again, back to my earlier discussion about, well, I have to install Alpine or something that's lightweight enough to run Docker in, and then I'm running Proxmox with Alpine with Docker inside of Alpine, and then it's just like, okay, don't do that. Or there's just additional complexity, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with that. So what I did do was so install the Remnux distro. You can run the tools and containers. You can download the virtual environment, or this is what I did right here, install from scratch. Now, as we mentioned in previous streams, you have to use Ubuntu 20. You have to use focal fossa. You have to use this one because attempting to use LTS 22 or 24, no worky. As a matter of fact, the script detects what version of Ubuntu you're using and says, yeah, no, get bent. And so you might have seen such internet streams as that earlier. But yeah, it took a good long while to go through that and install a bunch of stuff that I needed for this. There we go. And then running that. So it's always good to run the updates on this. I'm assuming I will use some sort of VLAN connection. So, the Windows VM will be in VLAN 1000. The Remnux box will also be in VLAN 1000. The IP addresses will not be routable. 10.0.0.1, 10.0, or no, in this case for Jeff, it was 10.0.0.3, 10.0.0.2, and then the gateway was also .2, which if you follow the YouTube channel video there on setting that up, it's way easier in VirtualBox. So there's going to be some configuration to make sure that it works properly. So yeah, you're going to need to use 2004. I'm hoping at some point they'll upgrade to 24, but there may be some changes between 20 and 24 that Remnux didn't like, which is why I would look that up. And I didn't really want to go in and cannibalize the script to try to work in 24 because I didn't know what it would do, and I didn't want to compromise the integrity of Remnux. Like if something broke, and be like, oh, well, you're running it on Ubuntu 24, and it would just be a pain in the ass. I have never had a more straightforward installation once I used Ubuntu 20. All of this stuff worked it's really a testament to how easy it was to install. It's just you follow this not this part, but the sudo remnux install kind of stuff. Rebooting the system, running your stuff, going through the hypervisor requirements. If you're using any kind of special bits like Proxmox, for instance, they have specific stuff if you're using them. So if you're using the appliance in Proxmox, you want to change the CPU type to QEMU64 instead of KVM64, which I don't believe we have this problem in our version of, let me see, processor. There it is. And actually, you know, so if you really wanted to, yeah, it'll be QEMU64. So you can go do that. and you know, I'll probably need to reboot at that point just to make sure everything works. There we go. Okay, insects all play. And it all boots up and there's no problems. My guess is there's some kind of CPU instruction or something that it doesn't like for that. Consider taking the following steps using Proxmox interface. You want to set VMware set to Spice QXL, hardware option, Spice enhancements, video streaming all. Okay. Boot the VM. Okay, so Proxmox interface. Let's see. Oh, let me see what I can do here. Split the screen, and then there we go. So VM hardware display set to Spice QXL. Okay. And then okay, and then under hardware option, Spice enhancements. I don't know where Spice and options. There it is. Spice enhancements, video streaming all. Okay, and then change your CPU type, whatever. So then reboot. Okay, so reboot. Cross fingers, folks. I don't want shit to blow up. So I actually like the Edge split screen thing. I'll actually miss that when I go to my new, when I can't use Edge on the box, but there we go. Seems to work just fine now. Okay. Excellent. Might be a crisis, just a stirring in my soul. There we go. Ugh, Green Bay Packers. Okay, analyzing. Yeah. So let me see. Enhancing payload using Procmon, compiling and extracting configure. Okay, so back up. So this was the one you wanted to have.
Procmon running it.
Okay. There we go. Do this one. And you know, you don't have to have Proxmox. You can have, you know, VMware, but there's a ton of stuff here. Like that was weird. Okay. Yeah, analysis workflow. You're gonna, you know,
that deep. I'll leave that as kind of.
Okay, so did I do it right? 2.1, let me see. Oh, do-it-yourself malware analysis. There we go.
Like Wireshark, if you work with while it's importing, I just remember
the one you can, if you do the manual install for Remnux, you can skip all the Remnux stuff and actually start. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I already ran the script, so Burp Suite and all that stuff should already be installed on Remnux. So you're gonna have to go through VirtualBox and then, do the installation of your system. So there's going to be some additional bits you're going to have to do once you get started, like disabling, Windows Update, and there's going to be some registry hacks for that. So, okay, so yeah, the guy's on his way to the house. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be recording a little bit of my solo RP stuff this weekend so I can edit it and get it done. But yeah, so actually I gave you the wrong link again, so grab that one. This is the part 1 lab setup, and that will get you through VMware or not VirtualBox. You set everything up, but then you're gonna need to go in, disable Windows Update, run things like Paranoid Fish and additional. So you won't have VBox Cloak, but there's scripts that you can run that will tell you whether or not your system is a VM or not. Paranoid Fish is one of those. There may be was there a proxmox script, VM evasion check. Spoof and make your VMs undetectable. No more bullshit. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Malware sandbox. Creating a VM. Oh, well, there you go. So here's something from July of this year. If you're a Medium fan, here's a malware analysis on Proxmox that I may read through this just to see what it talks about here. Let me see. Starting document analysis on some of the samples, breakdown articles, how you set up your analysis lab on Proxmox. Okay, so this is helpful, right? I don't use an Edge OP instance, so we'll have a Malnet VLAN, so we'll have Black Arch and our VM in a VLAN specifically. And then there's some additional malware net. Wow, that's so like we learned when we went through Jeff of all trades, there's hundreds of ways of doing things. You're gonna pick and choose from some of those things. And so you have a VLAN on your edge router that acts as a WAN interface for the internal OP instance. So you're gonna have a router that handles the networking for the internal network and then acts as a LAN interface for the OP instance and as a separate Linux bridge on Proxmox. Okay, so this may not be the best way of doing it. It is the way that works for this person, so they're documenting that. If you are a fan of Flare VM, which I think Jeff mentions in the list, you can also grab that virtual machine. I've had less good luck importing VMs into Proxmox, which is why I built the Remnux box from scratch. Trying to import Remnux into Proxmox was a bit painful. So let me see. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go. I will. I want to continue the hardening of the Windows box at some point. What? Oh. Well, that's interesting. So yeah, I'll go through and I'll disable Windows updates before it actually tries to run Windows updates, which would suck. Properties. Yeah, I wanted to turn off the. Yeah, I probably just have to disable that, but yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Everything seems to work. It was a successful 90 minutes with me. And I'm going to go and enjoy my holiday week, one last week, full week before I go on vacation. And so yeah, hope you have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. Thank you, Bear, for coming on and hanging out with me. I appreciate you. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can hit us up on Discord. Discord.gg BrakeSec. And, ask questions and come and hang out with us. So have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. As we're fond of saying here, you're the only you have. And it's even more important now than ever. So take care of yourselves. And, if you're hurting, reach out and talk to people. Okay? All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everybody.